Welcome to Living Chassidus. Together, let's live the Chassidus we learn.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Chassidus in the Morning, 15 minutes to change our lives. Aleph, we're learning a short vart from Pashas Pekudei. This is continuing on the theme we had before. We were asking why we're learning out Mishnichnas Adar Mar B'Simcha from Mishnichnas Av Mamat B'Simcha. And we said that ultimately it's that the simcha that comes from the Mariros is much greater. So we're going to discuss this light from darkness aspect idea. Let's see. Pashas Pekudei Nichnas to Pashas Vayikra. You go from Pashas Pekudei and then to Pashas Vayikra. So what's Sakesher Bein Shtei Pashas? What's the connection between the two? Everything Torah is exact, and everything is purposeful and meaningful, and there's something behind everything, not just random. Chas v'shalom. So you can learn from everything. So what's the connection between those two parashas? The last parasha of Shemos and the first parasha of Vayikra. So the connection is like this. B'shav Pashas Pekudei Meduba Be'inyan Shahayal Mishkan Ba'anon Shahayal Mishkan. By Pekudei, we end off the Parsha Pekudei. Last thing talks about is Moshe builds the tabernacle, the Aron, the Mishkan, and he builds everything and he makes everything and he does all the Karbanos. And what happens? The cloud of Hashem comes. So, and the cloud of Hashem comes onto the Mishkan. Yeah, ha'anan havia helim. So what was the cloud essentially? It was a helim, it was concealment. What did it do? Like it says in the pasuk, and Moshe couldn't come. Basically, when the cloud came, Moshe finished his job. He did everything he could. The cloud came. The cloud was a sign that Hashem is there. And you got to be out. You can't be there, which is a gili, which is a helim, which is a concealment. But afterwards. Vayakhel Moshe, Pashas Vayikra, Hashem calls Moshe. Kavanasa Shakriya, what's the means he calls? Who? He's Galus. This is a revelation. Hagilish Acha Helim. So you have the Helim, you have the concealment, and then you have the Gilui, then you have revelation. Beautiful. So you have, in the end of the sixth Parsha, it's a Gilui, the cloud, it's a Helim, the cloud comes and conceals, and Moshe can't go. But then next Parsha, Vayikra Hashem, and Hashem calls him, bringing him close. Revelation. As is known, like we said before, and like we're saying it here, that the revelation, the Gila comes after the concealment is greater than the revelation itself. Very interesting. And this we can learn out on so many levels, and Mitzvah Hashem, with our little time we have, we will bring them all out, or some of it. But what we're saying is a beautiful part, that the revelation that comes, the revelation is not as good as it is by itself in comparison to when it comes from the concealment. And this is it's like so many ways you can look at it, but it's simple. Without challenges in life, without that concealment, you don't have the gilling, that your revelation are good. Someone that doesn't have anything push, that strive makes us go. They don't appreciate life. It's like, unfortunately, for example, the people that are very rich, that they didn't work for it. It's not just it doesn't mean much. It if anything makes it worse. It makes it hard, and they a lot of times a lot more depressed. That's what we're saying. You have to it's sort of a sad reality. We don't like challenges, but challenges bring out the good times even more so. Yudal, let's see. So what does it mean in terms of our Avodah? Adam, where's Adam? Who? Avodah is tshuva. So a simple example of this is tshuva. What's tshuva? Tshuva ba la'achar Adam hirchik melikus helim. Tshuva comes about after a person did something wrong. We separate ourselves from Hashem. We do tshuva to return. Tashuv, we return. So we have the concealment, the helim, and then after do tshuva, you have the vigili. But tshuva here, Heshavas, Chazaras, Agili, and tshuva is the coming back. It's the gili. Very interesting. Because what's interesting about what we're saying here, let's finish off the paragraph. Af tshuva could be gilish helem he that even the tshuva that's after the concealment is redoubled. It's even stronger. It's even greater. To the alcohol of the tshuva, she's done his last like that your purposeful sins become like zachias. Your mistakes become like your averis become like zachias, like not averis anymore, but they become merits. They become good things. It's transformation of the darkness to light. So what's interesting here, as what we're saying, is that when you look at it, when you realize, you think about it, it's so interesting when he's saying, because he's saying essentially the concealment, the thing that we did wrong is part of the process. Meaning we shouldn't walk around doing averos, but what we're saying is when you do the tshuva from the avero, it brings you closer. Not, again, we're not saying we should go to averos, chas v'shalom, but the reality of life is that unfortunately we do these things, and the way, the perspective we're learning to look at it is, let me go to tshuva, and that tshuva that comes out from that is a very great level. And this is like we spoke about yesterday. Another example way of looking at it is in terms of like relationships and marriage. That like we said before, now when you have to do tshuva, that when you have a conflict in the marriage, healthy conflict is brings this deeper level. There's a halem, there's a concealment. We don't see eye to eye. It's concealment, and it's hard, and it's hard to learn how to have that discussion. But we work on having that discussion. But when you work on it, the revelation that comes afterwards, the gila that comes afterwards, is a much greater gila. Then when we live, and if you never have discussions, deep, sometimes tough discussions, it's not the same. Like we said here, the gila that's after the helem is nearly yosim na gila atzmein. Having that good time and having that good relationship is infinitely greater when it comes out through the helem, that concealment, those tough times. And tough times, they're not. We should push ourselves and annoy everybody. But we're saying when you automatically, like by nature, when you have difference of opinions and that gets brought up, we shouldn't shy away from it and say, I don't want to have to deal with this. This is what we're learning. It's fakert. The opposite. We should work to learn to deal with it. It's hard sometimes, and it's hard. You have to have bittul, and you have to learn how to speak, and you have to learn how to understand someone, and you have to learn to hear the other person's opinion. You have to learn to understand your opinion. You have to realize sometimes your opinion is wrong. But when you push yourself and you go through that and you get out of that and you go through it, when you come out, it's a much greater level. And this is also the explanation. Pirush HaMaimer, at the place where Baal Tshuva stands, tzaddikim, a complete tzaddik cannot stand. And now we understand this idea. It's in a certain sense very obvious. And this is like the famous story. There's plenty of stories of the Rabbeim. People came to them, and they said, "Oh, I have a struggle. I don't enjoy learning." So he said, "I envy you." So why do you envy me? Because I do love learning, so I can't push myself the way you do. And this is what we're saying here, in the simple sense. The challenges that we have in life, we look at it, I want challenges, but the challenges are what makes us special. What makes us in a place that a tzaddik can't stand. And he explains, tzaddikim have merits, they do good things. And these merits are two levels. There's the drawing down of what they bring down into the world, the revelation of godliness through their positive mitzvahs, which is the doing good. And secondly, it's the hamshacha, the drawing down that is brought about through the negative, through withholding, staying away from doing the negative. Which is turning away from bad. But it's only pushing away the bad. We're not transforming the bad to good. And in regards to revelations, it's like this is a limited revelation, meaning the tzaddik, when it comes to sumeira, staying away from bad, there's something that's bad, and he just doesn't interact with it, doesn't deal with it, and he stays away from it, and it's nice and it's good, and halavai, we should all do that, but ultimately they're saying there's a limit to it. Because the bad is still bad, you need to push it away. But when you have tshuva, it's my nefesh, the deepest levels of tshuva. That's hitting the essence of your soul. In Hashem's essence, there's no limits. The sins themselves become merits. So a tzaddik can never make his sins become merits because he doesn't have any sins. So he just has the tchiyah pushing away from bad and staying away from bad, but that bad still is bad. Whereas when you take something that was bad and you transform it to good, and you do that way, but you do tshuva, and when you do that tshuva, you're reaching a level that you're taking that bad and transforming it to good, because that bad was good. And it's like the simple example of in the marriage, that when you have, having arguments is not good. It's not like, hey, we should argue. But when you have them and you do it right, and you learn the other person's opinion, and you understand your opinion better, and you come to a good understanding, that level is much deeper, and it's something that cannot be reached if you don't have that argument. Do you want arguments? No. But without them, we can't reach these deep levels. We'll have a much more superficial, a tzaddik, so to speak, a tzaddik marriage is a very superficial marriage. It's good. We don't argue, nothing's bad, and it's nice, and it's good, but it's not deep. It's not pnimi, it's not etzem. The etzem marriage, the deepest marriage is that having that discussion and learning how to do it, and that brings you to a much greater level. It's wild. And this is inyan shel tachlis hakriya habal acher helam. This is the calling that we talked about after the concealment. That we have the helam of the cloud, and then next week's parsha we have the revelation. Hashem calls Moshe and bring him close. Lo dechia v'asara helam kiim shelayla kayom yared. It's not that it's pushing away like the tzaddik, but it's that the darkness will be like light, will shine like light. And you're taking the darkness that it was dark. You have darkness. The tzaddik doesn't have darkness. Fortunately and unfortunately, it doesn't have darkness. We have a darkness, but we take that darkness and transform it to light. And this is such a beautiful idea. And the Rebbe brings it down in such a nice way. Tes Zayin. V'zeh ha'ira l'chol echad b'avidasai b'chol matzav boi hu nimtza. This is a lesson for all of us in life. It doesn't matter our situation, where we're holding. This is something we can all take ourselves. And what's the lesson? The Rebbe says, we can never give up. Never give up on ourselves. Never say, I give up, I'm done. I can't do it. It's not good. In anything in life, never give up. Ki adraba. Because on the contrary, through the concealment, why are you giving up? Because it's too hard. You're trying and it's not working. Whatever it is, and it's hard. And it's concealment. It's not good. I'm trying, but it's not working. I'm trying to learn, but it's not working. I'm in marriage, it's not working. I'm trying to get a job, and it's not working. I'm trying to have a shidduch, it's not working. Don't give up. Because on the contrary, because through that concealment, through that thing that's not working, can bring you to a place that's way, way above and beyond in comparison to not having it. Certain generations. Makshim, so there are people that question, Kusha, Haya, Hayu, Deres, Naim, Meyata. There are much better generations than now. The previous generations, much more holia, much more chassidish, much more whatever you want to call from our generation. But nevertheless, Hayu, Rechikim, Min Hagula, they were much further away from Gula. And Vidavka, B'der, Shel, Ichshar, Dara, B'tmiya. And specifically our generation, it's like, us going to bring Moshiach, Tia Gula. That's how it's going to be. We're going to bring the Gula. We're going to bring Moshiach. We're not as holy. We're not as frum. We're not as whatever you want to say. We're not as good as them. So why is it us that we are the ones that are going to bring Moshiach? So the answer is Shuva here, Adarabah. He understands this is exactly the point. Like we've been explaining, the Fnais Breaker just before the morning, Miskaberes Hashena. It gets the sleepover comes. And then just before you time to get up, it's the darkest and it's you're most tired. You don't want to get up, but don't get stuck over there and move. Don't have years. Don't give up. That's when the chance to go. Put it just before the light. We're nearly there. At least and to wake up with the light of the morning. until we will merit that the night will shine like day. And what we're saying is they're saying this is a general lesson in life. We're learning that when there's something that bad, starts off as bad, we have to realize this is the potential for good. Even a sin that is wrong, you can transform it and transform it into good. And this is a deeper level than if you didn't do the sin. Again, we're not saying we should do sins, but anything in life that's bad and that's hard, we say, well, why do I have to have these bad things? Why do I have these hard things? But we don't realize when we push ourselves through them, we overcome that, and we use that as a catalyst to push ourselves. It gets us to a much greater level than we could have. And, we could bring about this all day, but we all got to go. So everyone should have an amazing Shabbos, an amazing, next week could pass Vayakhel, a whole new Sefer. But everyone should take the lesson we learned in this week's Sichos, and especially today, that we should realize that the things that we think are darkness in our life, realize that's the catalyst for the greatest growth and greatest good. And amidst Hashem, all of us, we should see the darkness transform into good with the coming of Moshiach. Have a great day.